start a panel which we have the representatives of the all voluntary institutions. They know
Evet.
all of them. I
Ne
am
zaman bir
sure about this
ihtiyaç olsa onlar
because
her zaman
whenever we need
oradalar.
something, they're
Panelin
always there.
moderasyonunu
And
adım
for the
adım ben yine
moderation
çok yakın
of
takip
this
ettiğimiz sevgili
panel,
dostum ve bir akademisyen olan
there's
Itır,
an
sevgili Itır
academician, and
ERHART
Itır
yapacak.
ERHART
Sevgili
will be
Itır,
moderating
söz
this
sende
panel.
ve
And now,
misafirlerinde.
Itır,
Buyurunuz.
the floor is yours, and I would like to give the floor to our guests as well. So our panel is starting now.
Evet, sevgili Dilara çok teşekkürler.
Thank you, Dilara,
Burada
for
olduğumuz
this nice
ve bugün
introduction. And
birlikte
we're very happy
kutladığımız
to be
için.
here and
Ben de sevgili
about the fact that
konuklarıma
we're
önce Dünya
celebrating this
Gönüller Gününüz
day
kutlu
together.
olsun diyorum.
And I would like
Hep
to
beraber
congratulate
gönülleri
the
ve gönüllüleri
International
kutluyoruz.
Volunteer Days, and
Evet,
we
bizim
are
panelde
today
konumuz
celebrating this. And
aslında
in this
afetlerde
panel,
gönüllülük.
we will be
Gerçekten çok
talking
kritik
about
bir
being
konu.
volunteer in the
O yüzden
disaster. So this is such a
STK
critical
Afet
topic.
platformuna
So
başlayacağım ben.
we wanted
Son
to start with
yıllarda
the
beni
NGO
en heyecanlandıran
disaster platform. So this
ekiplerden bir
is
tanesi.
one
Ben
of
de
the
çok
most important things.
heyecanla
This is
içinde
really giving me
olduğum,
an excitement,
açık
and
açık
I
olarak
am
da
part of
içinde
this
olduğumuz bir topluluk.
organization as well. This is the
Bunu
community that I'm
Serhan
also
Sözer'e
part of it.
soracağım.
And I want to ask
Serhan
this
çünkü
question
ilk
to
günden beri
Serhan
o da
SÜZER
içinde ve
because
şu
as
anda
of the first day,
sözcüsü.
he is part of it and
Nasıl
he's the
kuruldu,
spokesperson
misyonu
for this.
nedir
And
ve
what is
neler
the
yapar
mission, how
STK
it is
Afet
established,
platformu?
and so what is this all about
Teşekkürler
volunteerism and
Itır.
emergency response?
Açıkçası biz
Thank you,
uzun
Itır,
senelerdir
for
birbirini
so long
yani
years.
sivil toplum
We
alanında
are
tanıyan
helping and we
işte
know
farklı
each
farklı
other
STK'ların
as the
yöneticileri
NGOs, and
olarak
we are
bir
the head
şekilde
and the
Elazığ'da
presidents of
yolumuz
the different
kesişti.
NGOs.
Yani
And
kimileri
we
birbirinden haberdar bir
actually came
şekilde
together in
gittiler
Elazığ. We
Elazığ'a.
were aware of the
Benle
fact that
birlikte örneğin iki STK
the situation.
geldi ve
And there's
birlikte
another NGOs, and they
Diyarbakır'dan bir minibüsle
paid a visit
Elazığ'a
to
gittik.
Elazığ, and we took a minibus from
Baktık orada
Diyarbakır
buluşları var.
to Elazığ, and
İşte
we met there
ticaret
together.
odasının odası
And so we
ayarlanmış
had the
ve
Chamber of
bir
Commerce, and they
toplantı odası
settled a
içerisinde ya
meeting
biz
room
birlikte
for us.
hareket
In this
edemez miyiz
meeting
diye
room,
konuştuk.
we decided to act together,
Sonrasında
and after
valiyle
that,
toplantıya birlikte
we
gittik. Depo verildi
made a
bize, bir
meeting with the
depo ve
mayor, and they gave
sonra
a
baktık ki biz birlikte
warehouse to us,
inanılmaz
and then
işler
we said that
yapıyoruz ve
we could
Elazığ'da
really do something
gerçekten
great together.
büyük
In
katkımız
Elazığ,
oldu
for
bu
instance,
afet
we really
döneminin
contributed
hızlı
a lot
geçmesinde.
to this city,
Elazığ
especially after
depreminden
the
sonra bir araya
disasters.
geldik Şubat ayında bu
And
sene.
we came together
Yani birlikte
in
nasıl bunu kurumsal hale
February
getiririz
after
diye
the
konuştuk. Sonra Covid
earthquake happened in
başlayınca Mart'tan
Elazığ.
itibaren
And when COVID
bizler
started in
bir
2000
şekilde
and as
Zoom
of March,
toplantıları video
we
üzerinden
started to
her
create
hafta
Zoom meetings
aksatmasız
over the
toplantı
video.
yaptık.
And each
Ve
month we
sonuçta 1
made
Ekim'e kadar
meetings
yani
together. So
Mart'tan
up until
Ekim'in
the
başına
1st of
kadar bu
October, I could
toplantıları
say that
yaptık
from
ve 1
March
Ekim
to
itibariyle
October, we conducted
biz
online Zoom
platformumuzu
meetings. And
kurduk.
as of the
Afet
1st of
platformu
October, we established this
23
disaster
üyeyle
platform. And
kuruldu
we
ve
have
tam
23 members
bazı
in
detayları
this
konuşacakken yani
platform.
yönetişimi bir
And
şekilde
so we wanted to create this
becerdik yani
governance, and we
yani bu
actually
ortak
managed to
mekanizmanın
do it
ortaya çıkacağını
because we created
oluşturduk
this
ama
common
tam afet
mechanism
olayını
together. And
yönetimini
so we
netleştirirken İzmir
managed
depreminde de daha ilk
and in
günden
the
itibaren
Izmir earthquake,
prizmasımızı
as of
kurduk
the first
ve
wave, we
çalışmalara
created our
başladık. Bizim
crisis desk, and we
misyonumuz
started to
açıkçası
work on it. And
afetlerde
our
ortaya
mission is
çıkan
in the
kaybı
disasters,
asgariye indirmek.
we want to
Yani
minimize
bu
the
can ve
loss,
mal kaybı
and
olabilir.
so it
İşte
can be a
psikolojik
material loss, or
bir
it can
takım
be the
sorunlar
people, or it can be
hissedilir işte
psychological
afet
problems or
sebeber.
the
Bu
casualties. So
anlamda
we
biz
want to minimize
elimizden
the
geldiğince bütün
results of
alanlarda yani
disasters. So
arama
in every
kurtarma,
areas, keep it
insani
from the
yardım,
search and rescue,
ihtiyaç analizi,
human
gıda
aid, the
bankacılığı,
need for the analysis, food
psikososyal
banking,
bir şekilde
psychosocial
bu
help and
platformu
aids, everything. So
oluşturduk
we
ve
created that
yani
platform,
kendi
and by
içimizde de
means of
bunun
this platform, also
standartizasyonlarını
internally we made a
oluşturuyoruz.
standardization of
Şu
it.
anda yani aslında
And
yapılacak işler
I can say
anlamında da
that
sadece
when
afet
I
döneminde çalışan bir platform değil. Bunun
it
altını
is
çizmek
not only
istiyorum. Afet
working
olmayan
during the
dönemlerde
platform, but whenever there's
esas
no
yapacağımız
disaster,
çalışmalar
also we are
afetlerdeki bizim
working
başarımızı
on our
gösterecektir.
schedule,
Bu
and
anlamda
this is
da
going to be leading the
standartizasyon,
papers
eğitim
during
ve
the
risk azaltma
disasters,
konularında
and risk mitigation,
çalışmalarımızı
standardization,
hızlandırdık.
and about
Özellikle risk
public trainings. We
azaltma
speed it up, especially the risk
konusu
mitigation
çok
is
önemli.
the
Yani
most
bunların
important
her biri
topic
çok
in
önemli.
our
Bunların hepsi bir
portal.
hazırlık yapma
Everything is
ve
of course
bir
important
afet
because it's
olduğunda
all about
adeta
preparation.
makinenin
And whenever
dikişleri
there's a
gibi
disaster,
hareket
so we need
edebilmeyi
to work as the parts of the
sağlayacak
machine. So
bizde.
we have to
Bu
work
anlamda
simultaneously.
kamuyla özel
And we
sektör
are working together
ile
with the public
aramızdaki
and the private
entegrasyonu da
sector. So
sağlamak
we have a
istiyoruz.
very
Çünkü
good
bir afet
integration with them
olduğunda
because whenever there's a
sadece devlete
disaster,
düşmüyor iş. Bence
so
bütün sivil
the
toplum kuruluşlarına
responsibility is
işte
not
şu,
only on
biz
the
de
shoulders of
elimizden geldiğince
government
destek
as
olmaya
the own
çalışıyoruz.
NGOs. We have support
Afetlerde
system,
hiç
and we
aksaklık
are
olmadan yerimizi almak
without
istiyoruz.
any
Birbirinden
violence. We
değerli
want to take our
sivil
place
toplum
in the
kuruluşları var
disasters.
bizim
There are very
platformda.
important
Yani 23
NGOs in our platform.
STK kurucu
We have 23
bahsettim. Yani
institutions,
kurucu üyelerin
and
dışında
so
biz
those
İzmir'e
are the founding
gittiğimizde
members. And when
yerel
we went to
STK'larla
Izmir,
birlikte
also we
50'nin
worked
üstüne çıktı
together with the
sayımız ve
local
biz birlikte
NGOs, and we
çalışabildik.
were more than
Yani
50
gerçekten
institutions, and
bu
we could work together.
dayanışma
And
ve
this
birlikte
solidarity
bu
and
zor
this kind
zamanların
of
üstesinden
unity in
gelebilmek
such kind of
ülkemize
tough
oturtmak
times, be
istiyoruz.
able to overcome those problems, we
Çok
have to work and
teşekkürler.
support
Yalnızca afet
better.
döneminde değil tabii
So
afete
you,
hazırlıklı
as you
olmak
also said
ve o
that it's not
aralardaki
only
süreyi
the
iyi
disaster now, but to be
değerlendirmek,
prepared. To
koordinasyon için,
prepare
organizasyon
this
için
preparedness
sürekli
is
birlikte
very
çalışmak
important,
gerekiyor.
and
Onun
to work
altını
together
çizmen
constantly
çok
is very
önemliydi
important, and
bence.
it's such an
Tabii
important to
burada
emphasize this. The
STK, kamu,
preparation
özel
period,
sektör
yes,
işbirliği de
NGO,
bence
private
çok
sector, and
kritik.
the public sectors.
Hepimizin farklı kasları var, güçlü
Solidarity is
kasları
important.
var
We
ve
have different
birlikte
muscles and
anca
different
bu büyük
strengths, and
sorunların
only
üstesinden
together we can
gelebiliyoruz.
overcome
O
the
yüzden
biggest problems.
gerçekten çok
And that's the
önemliydi
reason why
altını
it's an
çizdiğin
important
noktalar.
thing to
Buradan
emphasize.
Nurdal Bey'e
And
dönmek istiyorum.
I'd like to ask my
Tabii
question
Kızılay
to
afet
Mr.
deyince
Nurdal.
ilk aklımıza
And
gelen
of
kurumlardan
course,
bir
when we
tanesi.
say disaster, the
İlk
Red
andan
Crescent
itibaren
is
orada
the first
Kızılay ve Kızılay
institution that comes to our
gönüllüleri.
minds. And we
Kızılay
have
gönüllüsü
Turkish Red
olmak
Crescent
isteyen
and the
çok
volunteers
var.
of the
Gençler
Turkish Red Crescent.
arasında
There's
da
so
çok
many
olduğunu
people,
görüyorum
especially
ben.
the
Ben
young
üniversitede
people. I know that
hocayım.
there's so many
Dilara'nın da
people,
bahsettiği
they want
gibi.
to be part of the
Öğrencilerim
Turkish Red Crescent.
arasında
I'm
çok
in a
var
division in
Kızılay
the
gönüllüsü
university.
olmak
There's so many
isteyenler.
people who want
O
to
yüzden
be
gönüllülük
a
programlarını
volunteer of the
sizden
Turkish Red
dinlemek
Crescent.
isteriz.
And can
Beni
you
çok
just talk about your
heyecanlandıran bir genç
programs?
Kızılay var
So
mesela.
there's this
Onu da
young Red
dinleyebilirsek çok
Crescent,
mutlu
for
oluruz.
instance.
Çok
Can you just give
teşekkürler.
some information about
Tabii
those
ki
things?
bütün panelistlere saygılar sunuyorum.
First of all, I would
Sizlere de
like to
saygılar
salute
sunuyorum.
and extend
Kızılay'ın
my respect
gönüllülüğü
to all panelists
esasında
and to our listeners.
teşkilma
The
modeline de
volunteerism,
dayanıyor
the
biz.
Red
Çünkü
Crescent
hem sitelerde
is
teşkilatlanan
about
bir genç Kızılay
organizations
yapılanmamız var. Bugün
because we have
152
this young
üniversitede
Red
genç
Crescent
Kızılay'ın
in
toplulukları var,
152
gönüllü toplulukları ve bunlar
universities. We have
genel
volunteers,
merkez
and
düzeyinde
they
gönüllülerden
are
oluşan
also
bir yönetim
connected to
kurulu
regional
tarafından
centers. So
sevk ve
also
idare
they have a
ediliyor.
board,
Eğitim
and they're
programları
managing their own
tasarlanıyor.
programs. So they're
Kızılay Kadın
designing training
Hareketimiz var.
programs.
Şubeler
And we
üzerinde
have the Red Crescent
kurguladığımız
Women
ve tabii
Movement.
ki
So this is
toplumun
also inside
daha
the
doğrusu bütün
branches.
illerde
And also
teşkilatlanmış,
in all the other
şubeleşmiş bir
cities,
yapısı
we
var.
have organizations
Haliyle
and
burada
branches via different
kontrollü,
cities.
biraz
And
organizasyon gerektiren
we have
yapılanmayla,
this kind of
bağlı
an
yapılarla
organization, and
ilerlemesi
it
gereken bir
requires
gönüllülük sürecimiz
such
var.
kind of a control,
Genç
but
Kızılay
it's all about
teşkilatları hepimizi
volunteerism.
çok
The
heyecanlandırıyor.
young Red Crescent
Çünkü
is exciting for
2017'den beri biz
everyone,
bu
for all of
teşkilatlanma
us, because
modeline
as of
başladığımızda
2017
gördük
we
ki
initiated
gençlik
that
enerjisi aslında
organization,
bir şey
and
yapmak istiyor,
the
sahada
energy
olmak
of the
istiyor.
youth, they
Daha
want to
çok
do
kurumlara
something, they
değil
want
de
to make a
kurumların
deal,
hizmet
and
götürdüğü
they
insanlara
want
dokunmak
to
istiyor. Onların
touch
etki
the
alanlarında
people
bulunan
who are
faaliyetlerine
affected
katılmak
by the
istiyor.
disasters, and they
Toplum
want to
zaten
take
gönlü
part in
güzel bir
the deal.
toplum.
And
Gençlerimiz de
the
gerçekten öyle.
society is
Bunları biz
very
nasıl
much inclined to
yönlendirebiliriz, neler
volunteers, and young
yapabiliriz diye
people
düşünürken
especially are like this as well.
Kızılay
And we were
yönetiminin, genel
wondering what
başkanımızın
could
da
we do
vizyonuyla biz
as
Genç
the Red
Kızılay
Crescent, as the
oluşumunu,
vision of
hareketini
our
başlatmış
Turkish Red
olduk.
Crescent
Hızlıca
president.
şu anda
We
81 ilde,
initiated that young
şubelerde
Red Crescent in
teşkilatlandı. Onun
87
dışında
different
üniversitelerde
institutions in
teşkilatlandı ve
cities. We have
toplumun ihtiyaç
unions,
duyduğu bütün
and we are
alanlarda gönüllülük
trying to
faaliyeti
find
yapıyor. Sosyal hizmet, kamu
solutions
hizmetleri,
for the
mülteci, göç
society about
hareketliliği,
everything, the
çevre
refugees,
sorunları,
population,
ağaç dikmek,
environmental
yaşlı
problems, and
bakımı, yaşlıları ziyaret
taking care
etmek,
of the elders, visiting
engelliler,
elderly
aklınıza
people,
gelebilecek
disabled
bütün
people, you can think
alanlarda
about
bu
all the areas which are
arkadaşlarımız bir
affecting the
program
society,
dahilinde bu
and they
süreçlerini
have a
sürdürüyor ve
program and they are running
raporluyorlar. Biz de
their
onların bu görünürlüğünü sağlamaya
their
çalışıyoruz.
activities and
Genç
their
Kızılay
grievances
özelinde
reports, and
bir
we
akran
try to
eğitici
support them.
eğitimi
And also
projemiz
we
var.
have
Bir de
peers training
afetlerde gönüllü
program.
lider
Also for the
takımları oluşturma.
disasters, we
Özelinde
have some
bahsedeyim,
leader
konumuz da
teams
afet
during the
olduğu için.
disasters. Since
Akran
the topic
eğitici
is
eğitimimiz
disasters
şu,
today, the
üniversite
peer training program
topluluklarımızda
and the
bulunan Genç
university
Kızılay'ın
in the universities.
başkanları ya da gönüllü liderlerini bir programa
We
dahil
have
ediyoruz ve
some
onlara
leaders,
afetlerle korunma, ilk yardım
and
ve
so
sosyal hizmet alanında eğitici
social
eğitimi
service,
veriyoruz.
about
Onlar da
social
gidip
service,
kendi
we are giving
bulundukları
trainings, training,
üniversitelerinde
and they
bunu
are
çok basit
also
yolla
getting those kind of trainings in the
yaygınlaştırıyor.
universities,
Şu
and
anda
they want to
Genç
extend this
Kızılay'ın
education.
5800
And
üstü
we
eğitilmiş,
have
sahaya bugün gittiğinde nerede
5,800
neyi yapacağını bilen,
trainers
ilk
and they
yardım
have
konusunda
people
tecrübeli,
who are
gönüllüsü
experts and
var ve
they
bu
have a
sayıyı
lot of volunteers
gitgide
and they're
artırıyoruz.
knowledgeable about the
Peki
first aid and infectious
afetler konusunda ne
epidemic.
yapıyoruz diye
About
soracak
this
olursanız,
assessment,
afet olduğu yerde zaten bizim daha önceden bir lider takımı yetiştirdiğimiz için doğrudan sahaya ilk bu arkadaşı intikal ettiriyoruz. Ve bizim müdahale kapasitemize destek olarak hangi bölgede ne kadar gönüllü ihtiyacı var, nerelere ne tür hizmetler götüreceğiz planını yaparak hızlıca organize oluyoruz. Ve biraz önce Genel Başkanımız bahsetti. Gönüllüol.org sistemini, gönüllü yönetim platformunu açtık. Şunun için önemli afetler açısından. Biz lokasyon bazlı, orada coğrafi bilgi sistemlerini de kullanıyoruz o sistem üzerinde. Lokasyon bazlı gönüllülerimizi tarayabiliyoruz. Yani diyelim Ödemiş ilçesinde
Let's say
bir
that
sel
in
baskını
Ödemiş,
oldu.
if there's a flood,
Burada
for instance,
Ödemiş'te bizim
and
hangi
in
gönüllülerimiz
Ödemiş,
var?
what kind
Dijital
of volunteers
sistemimizi
do we have,
ve
and what
taramayla
is the
çıkartıp doğrudan görev
system?
gönderebiliyoruz.
We
Oradaki
can
gönüllüler
do
kucağımıza
this.
yönlendiriyoruz. Bu anlamda AFAD'la, diğer STK'larla,
And we're
üniversitelerle
working,
yoğun bir işbirliğimiz var. Kurumsal işbirliklerimiz var
we have
ve bu
cooperation
kapasitemiz
with
artıyor.
universities,
Sadece
and
pandemi
we
döneminde
are
bile
trying
85 bin
to
gönüllümüz sokağa çıkma yasağının
increase
olduğu
the number.
zaman
Even
sokaklarda
during the
pide dağıttı,
curfew,
vefa destek
80%
gruplarında
of the
nöbet
people
tuttu,
supported
yaşlılarımızın
the
köpeklerini
volunteers,
gezdirdi,
supported the
parklara
society.
çıkardı.
They did
Yani
dog
inanılmaz
walking, they
güzel
helped the
hikayeler
elderly people,
yazılıyor. Bu
and they
anlamda
distributed
hepsiyle
bread
gurur
to the
duyuyoruz.
people.
Tüm
And during
genç
the
Kızılay
curfews, they helped
gönüllülerimizle.
it, and we are very proud of them.
Çok teşekkürler. Bu 5800 sayısını
And
ben
we
not
have
aldım. İnanın bana da
5,800
çok umut
volunteers,
verdi.
and this is really giving
Şunun
me a lot
altını
of hope
çizmek
as well.
istiyorum.
And I
Sizin
just want to
söyledikleriniz de
underline this.
bence çok kritik bir
And
noktaydı.
I think this is very
Özellikle
critical,
afetlerde sahaya
especially
girecek
in the
kişilerin
disasters, the
bu
people.
şekilde organize edilmiş
So they
programlardan geçmesi
should
çok
be
kritik.
organized, and
Çünkü
they
afet
have
olduğu an
this
ilk
training.
refleks bir anda
Because
sahaya
whenever there's
gitmek
a
oluyor.
disasters,
Oysa
they always want to go
uygun
to the
eğitimimiz
field.
yoksa,
But if you
sahada
don't
nasıl
have proper
davranacağımızı
training, if you don't
bilmiyorsak
know how
belki
to
de
act
orada
in the
olmamamız
field,
daha
maybe
iyi.
it's better that
Buradan
we should
bütün
be in the
gönüllü olmak
disaster
isteyenlere
area.
çağrımız
So we want to
mutlaka
ask this to the
programların birine
people,
dahil olup
and they need
eğitimi
to be part
aldıktan
of those
sonra
trainings.
sahaya
And after
çıkmaya
getting
geçmeleri.
trained, they
O
have to
yüzden
be
çok
in the field.
teşekkürler değerli bilgiler için ve
So
yönlendirmeniz
thank
için.
you for all the
Şimdi
information.
buradan Mehmet Bey'e dönmek istiyorum tabii. AFAD dedik hemen Kızılay demişken. AFAD gönüllüsü olmak isteyen çok sayıda benim de çevremde insan var. Orada olmak AFAD
There are
gönüllerin
many people
fotoğraflarını
who would like to
gördükçe,
become AFAD
onların
volunteers. So when they
yaptıklarını
see
gördükçe
AFAD
gönüllü olmak isteyen çok
volunteers'
arkadaşımız var.
pictures,
AFAD'ın
there are
nasıl
many
gönüllü
people who
programları
would
var
like
ve nasıl
to
dahil
go for
olabiliriz?
volunteering. So how can we get involved in
Evet, ben de
AFAD?
çok teşekkür ediyorum Itır Hanım. Size de bütün
Itır,
katılımcılarımıza
thank
da.
you very much, and
AFAD
thank you
gönüllülük
everyone
sistemi
for
de
joining us.
2019
AFAD
yılında Ocak
volunteering
ayında AFAD
system
tarafından faaliyete
was set up
geçirildi.
in
Tabii
January
kamunun gönüllerle
2019
en
by
büyük
AFAD.
işbirliğini yaptığı
The
özellikle
biggest cooperation of the
konulu,
public
afetle
opinion with
mücadele,
the
afeti hazırlanma konulu ana
volunteers
temasıyla en büyük gönüllülük
was
yapısı diyebiliriz
materialized
bu
in the
manada.
field
Tabii
of
AFAD gönüllülük
disasters.
sistemi aslında
Well, let
afet
me go into the
yönetimi herhangi
AFAD,
bir
Disaster and
sürecinde
Emergency
rol
Management
almak isteyen
Presidency's volunteering
gönüllülerin
system.
sisteme
If
dahil
there are
edilmesini,
volunteers, then
yeteneklerini
they get
eğitimlerle
involved into the
geliştirmelerini
system and
ve
they
hangi
are further
alanlarda görev
trained,
yapacaklarını
and
belirleyerek bu
we
alanlara
determine in which fields they're
yönlendirilmesini ve
going to serve.
performanslarının izlenmesini amaçlamakta. Bu
And we
amaçla da
watch their performances
AFAD
accordingly.
gönüllülerimiz
With this goal in mind,
devlet
our
üzerinden
volunteers
başvurularını yapabiliyorlar. Buradan biz kendilerine şifre veriyoruz.
make applications through e-state, e-devlet. They get a password. We direct them to our portal, and the trainings and the engagement areas are followed up online accordingly. And we get into touch with them. Well, let me tell you what the main goal of the project is. The goal is as follows. In Turkey, as you might imagine, there are various disasters occurring. We are situated in a geography which is very much prone to disasters. That's why we would like to further increase the number of the volunteers in this field. And secondly, the AFAD volunteers who would like to walk hand in hand with us are trained on a face-to-face basis, and we increase their capabilities and make them further stronger. And they work with the professional AFAD teams out there in the field, and they know what they're going to do. That's how we train them, and we benefit from them in this sense. Well, trainings are of utmost importance because, it's about volunteering in disaster. That's why you need to be trained. We have basic AFAD volunteers. So the volunteers who begin working with us are trained in an online platform, and it's about stress management and the rest. So we have such courses, but in the upcoming process, there will be psychosocial classes and classes on decreasing the disaster risk. Our volunteers are trained as to how they could behave before the disaster, during the disaster, and after the disaster. And the volunteers who complete their trainings do apply to us. We have volunteer coordinators in the provinces, and our volunteers are trained on a face-to-face basis. For instance, there is this 5-day research and rescue training. In this research and rescue training, we teach them what they can do in case of a disaster, and they can feel what kind of an activity they're going to undertake in case of a disaster. Moreover, we work hand in hand with the fire brigades. Moreover, we train them as to how they can set up the tents. Apart from these, there is this professional AFAD volunteers. Actually, these people do hold some other careers, be them psychiatrists, communication experts, or physicians. They become professional AFAD volunteers, and if we need them, then we ask them to offer trainings, or if we need them in the field of the disaster, then we ask them to go there. Moreover, we have some other further activities. We have some social activities that we undertake, just like planting saplings, cleaning up the schools, setting up libraries. These are some of the social activities that we undertake. In this pandemic process, unfortunately, we had to cut down on the number of the social activities, and the number of the face-to-face activities also decreased because as of March, we stopped face-to-face trainings. However, from time to time, we do hold only a few number of trainings, and we abide by the social distancing rule. Moreover, there is this scoring system that we put in place. Our volunteers do get some scores, and they can select presents. We have AFAD volunteers logoed presents. We send them to their addresses free of charge. Well, in the corona processes, we undertook some activities. Let me give you a couple of examples. For instance, in Elazığ earthquake, we had more than 200 volunteers. They set up tents, they packed up the packages, they carried the materials, and did the rest. Moreover, there was this Giresun flood disaster. 120 volunteers joined us from different parts of the Black Sea. We sent them an email, and they joined our activities under the coordination of our leaders. 120 volunteers helped the stores that were located in the disaster region, and we cleaned these stores working hand in hand with our volunteers. We had people from all walks of life among these volunteers. They were quite willing. Maybe it was the very first time that they digged into a place, but they knew what it required, and they did what the situation required us to do. Well, it is something that touches into your nerves. It is something that is very much sensitive, and it is very much emotional. I would like to congratulate the International Volunteer Day. By the way, I would like to commemorate the International Volunteer Day. Well, it's great to hear that we can join AFAD, because there are many people who would like to become AFAD members, but they are not members of the rescue team. I think it is highly valuable that you encourage the volunteers. Volunteering is something that should be commemorated and that should be encouraged. So thank you very much for all the information that you have shared. Now I'd like to move on with talk. Ali, I will give you the floor. When we talk about volunteering, talk comes to my mind in the very first place. And in Adım Adım, we have been trained by talk in terms of volunteer management. They are scattered all across Turkey. Could you please elaborate on what you do and how you organize young people in cases of disaster? Sure. As you have mentioned, one of our biggest advantages is the fact that we are located in different parts of Turkey, and we have volunteers in a variety of cities. For instance, in Elazığ earthquake, let me begin with the Elazığ earthquake. In this earthquake, unfortunately, the sound is not clear. We had volunteers from 17 cities. They got to Elazığ very rapidly, and we had some volunteers who were there all the time. We met the requirements of the people who were faced with the disaster, and we helped them immensely. We determined what was needed out there in the field. We met all the requirements of the people over there, and we supported them immensely. Well, our experience in Elazığ, as noted by Serhan, was very much individual, but we got to know each other as the NGOs, and when it came to Izmir earthquake, we were more prepared for that. And let me tell you what was different in Izmir. In Izmir, we were quite ready. We made a call to our volunteers, and we shaped our activities in line with the pandemic conditions. And the NGOs were highly prepared. So we reached out to almost 2,000 volunteers. And we did it in a very short span of time. I think that's a very important figure. I mean, 2,000 is a high number, right? And as the disaster platform, all the NGOs came together in Izmir, and I think we were highly successful. In a similar manner, just like it was the case in Elazığ, we joined the relief efforts in each and every way. Well, in each and every university, I think there is this talk club, and you might make an application to talk clubs in your universities. You will be trained to become talk volunteers. Thank you. Now I'm gonna get back to Dünya, Mrs. POLAT. Well, the volunteers are highly important to us, but their well-being also matters to us. When we have a disaster, you go out to train the volunteers and you support their well-being. How do you work with the volunteers? How do you organize yourselves, Mrs. POLAT? Could you please elaborate on it? Hello, everyone. I would like to commemorate International Volunteer Day. I think we're doing something highly important. As Turkish Psychologists Association and Foundation, we try to be out there in the field following the earthquakes, in the aftermath of the earthquakes. Well, we are a professional organization, and there is this trauma unit integrated into our society, and it's active almost all the time. Following the Soma disaster and the air crashes, we are out there in the field. However, in doing so, we mostly work hand in hand with the fire brigades and the volunteers who have experience out there in the field, and we train them in terms of their well-being. Our goal is to relieve some symptoms through the trainings that we offer to them. We're not offering a therapy. We are offering a social support mechanism. And after each and every training that we hold, we notice that such trainings are very much vital in terms of the well-being of the volunteers. Well, I believe such trainings are still not taken seriously, because we go through some problems when we try to reach the field. When it comes to Izmir earthquake, we worked hand in hand with Red Crescent in the very first place. Well, following the second week, the pandemic was scattered and the number of the tents decreased. That's how we turned ourselves into an online platform. Due to COVID, we had a telephone line. We do not offer psychotherapeutic support through the line, by the way, but we get individual applications, and then online therapy is offered to the volunteers in this way. Following the Izmir earthquake, we set up an online platform, and more than 2,000 people made an application to us. Almost 1,000 of them are our graduates. We have some criteria in terms of offering the trainings. You should have the required references, you should have worked out there in the field previously, and you should have been trained by us, because we also go through an orientation and training process as the volunteers. Currently, we have 420 trained therapists who offer their services under our umbrella, and we have 131 individual online applications. We have received 131 applications, and through online relief, we work with the teams who have experience out there in the field. The Family and Social Policies Ministry organizes our activities. They have approved our volunteers' names, and if they send us the people who need psychological relief, then we support them. Izmir Metropolitan Municipality also worked hand in hand with us. Moreover, there is this NGO platform that we work closely with, and we have an activity. We talked to Serhan previously. We work hand in hand with the Disaster and Emergency Management Presidency team and the other teams. Well, we go step by step, because as of the very first day, it was not that easy to experience all this disaster. You need some time for the events to sink into. I live in Izmir, and I have experienced the earthquake myself. And I believe we need to come together under the platforms, and we need to elaborate on what volunteering is, how much time we need, how much time we need to spend out there in the field. And then there is this cleansing period, right? Psychological training and sharing teams or support teams should be set up so that the psychological well-being of the people will be put in place. We highly believe that people need to contact with us in an attempt to regain their well-being. Thank you very much. Well, all the points that I have heard point out to the fact that when it comes to disasters, we need experience, we need to be out there in the field only after we receive trainings. I think this is a very critical point that we need to underscore. Well, you have all underscored the fact that civil society, local administration, and public authorities should work hand in hand in terms of managing the disasters, because our job is not that easy. That's why we need to work in cooperation and coordination, and we should show solidarity. I would like to commemorate International Volunteer Day once again. Thank you. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. Last but not least, I'd like to extend my thanks to Dünya, AFAD's NGO platform, Disaster and Emergency Management Presidency, because in Izmir we were out there with more than 7,000 volunteers, and our volunteers were quite exhausted in terms of their psychology and Dünya, I would like to extend my thanks to your team. Talk was incredible, and they worked hand in hand with the Red Crescent volunteers. They were incredible. We worked in close coordination. Thank you very much for all your efforts. I hope we won't go through further disasters, but it's a reality of Turkey, and now that it's a reality of Turkey, we should work in coordination and cooperation. I think we should set up such a culture, and I'd like to congratulate AFAD, Disaster and Emergency Management Presidency, and Red Crescent. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Serhan, bir son söyleyeyim.
Serhan,
Tabii.
last remarks, please. Last remarks, okay?
Şimdi biz AFAD'ın da İzmir'de
Well,
çalıştık ama
we worked with AFAD in Izmir,
kamuda elimizden gelen desteği verdik.
and we supported all these organizations immensely. For instance, Red Crescent had its own warehouse in Izmir, and they asked us to send volunteers to them. We sent almost 50 volunteers per day to Red Crescent's warehouse. In a similar manner, Bayraklı municipality needed our assistance, and TOK's volunteers worked in Bayraklı municipality. And in the main warehouse, again, we had volunteers working with them. In Izmir, almost 300 to 350 volunteers supported Izmir, as well as the governorship of Izmir. In this sense, the public authorities, civil society, and private industry, private sector should work in close coordination. If possible, I mean, you should open up yourselves to coordination, to solidarity, and as a disaster platform, we're going to follow up the process very closely. Thank you. I would like to commemorate International Volunteer Day once more. Thank you.
Evet, çok teşekkür ediyoruz.
Thank you.
Sevgili Itır, sana ve tüm panel
Dear Itır and all the panelists, we would like to extend our thanks to you.